Case file TR-2309. Location: Clayfield. Population: 4,011. Or 4,010, depending on which county registry you consult and which year you check. The Twilight Registry received this referral through an unusual channel. A pharmacist named Dora Nell Vance, 62 years old, third-generation proprietor of Clayfield Drug and Sundry on Mill Street, who called our intake line at 11:47 on a Wednesday night and said, with very little preamble, "I think I have been dispensing medication to a dead man for longer than I have been alive." We sent an investigator the following morning. What she found was this. Clayfield Drug and Sundry had been in continuous operation since 1951, founded by Dora Nell's grandfather, passed to her father, and then to her after a brief stint at a regional pharmacy chain, convinced her that small towns deserved better than indifference. She knew most of her customers by name. She knew their conditions, their allergies, their insurance situations, their preferred pickup days. She was, by every account, a careful and attentive pharmacist. The audit had begun as routine compliance work. New state record-keeping requirements demanded a full digitization of all paper prescription logs dating back 30 years. Dora Nell had hired a college student to scan and index the records. The student, a meticulous young man named Trevor, who had a gift for pattern recognition, had flagged the anomaly on his third day. One prescription, field under the name Aldous Mercer, issued for a compound called Victamine HCl, 40 milligrams, monthly supply, signed by a Dr. C. Hafford, whose license number appeared valid in the state registry until 1987, when it was revoked following his death in a single-vehicle accident on Route 9. The prescription had been renewed without interruption every 30 days since February of 1984. The most recent pickup was 11 days before Dora Nell called us. Our investigator pulled the county death records. Aldous Mercer, born 1931, died October 14, 1983. Cardiac event. Buried in Clayfield Memorial Cemetery. Section 4, Row 7. She drove to the cemetery and confirmed the headstone. She returned to the pharmacy and confirmed the pickup log. 486 pickups. Not one missed. Not one month skipped. She asked Dora Nell who picked them up. Dora Nell said she didn't know. She said the prescription had been active before she took over from her father, and her father had taken it over from her grandfather, and none of them had ever questioned it because the paperwork was always in order and someone always came. She said she had never personally seen the person who came because the pickup always happened during the hour between 11 and noon on the last Tuesday of each month, and that was the hour she typically took lunch in the back. She said her father had told her once not to be there for those pickups. She had assumed it was some old confidentiality arrangement she didn't understand, the kind of thing small-town practices accumulated over decades. She had never questioned it. She questioned it now. Our investigator asked to review the security footage. Dora Nell said the cameras had been installed in 2019. She pulled the archive. On 39 consecutive last Tuesdays, the motion-triggered camera above the prescription counter had recorded the following sequence. The bell above the door chimed. The motion sensor activated. The camera recorded the counter, the shelves behind it, the front window. The door was visibly open. You could see Mill Street, the morning traffic, a slice of gray sky. No one was visible at the counter. On frame 41, always frame 41, regardless of the day's light, a paper bag was gone from the pickup shelf. Present on frame 40, absent on frame 41. No motion captured between them. The bag always contained a 30-day supply of Vectamine HCl, 40 milligrams. Our investigator asked what Vectamine HCl was indicated for. Dora Nell said she had looked it up in every pharmaceutical reference she owned, and several she had borrowed from the regional hospital. The drug did not appear in any index. The compound name did not match any known pharmaceutical formulation. She had sent a sample of the remaining stock to a laboratory in the city. The lab had called her back in 4 days and told her the substance was inert, chalk, essentially. Calcium carbonate, shaped into tablets, coated. No active ingredient of any kind. Someone had been picking up monthly supplies of chalk for 40 years. Someone had been providing them for longer than that. The original prescription, the paper one signed by Dr. Hafford in 1984, bore a patient address. Our investigator drove to it. The address was a lot on the east side of Clayfield, where a house had stood until 1989, when it was demolished following a fire. The lot was now a community garden. The woman tending the tomatoes said she had lived in Clayfield her whole life and had never heard the name Aldous Mercer. She paused, then said, "There's a grave by that name up at Memorial, though. My mother used to leave flowers on it. Said he was an old neighbor. She never told me anything else about him." Our investigator returned to the registry and filed her preliminary report. The registry opened a secondary inquiry into Dr. C. Hafford. His license records, where they survived, indicated a general practice operating out of an office on the same block as Clayfield Drug and Sundry. His office had occupied the space now used as a tax preparation service. The current tenant said the back wall of the storage room had never been properly finished. Exposed lath, old plaster. A smell she couldn't identify. She had stopped using the room in 2021. The registry subpoenaed pharmacy records from the state. Vectamine HCl, 40 milligrams, had never been approved by any regulatory body at the state or federal level. The name appeared in no clinical trial registry, no pharmaceutical patent database, no formulary. The name appeared in exactly one other context, a notation in the personal journal of a Dr. Carl Hafford, recovered from his estate after his death and donated to the Clayfield Historical Society, where it had sat unread in an archival box for 36 years. The notation read, "AM stable. Monthly supply adequate for maintenance. Do not alter dosage. Do not question origin. The compound is not for him. It is for what he carries. If the carrier is not maintained, the thing he carries will not remain still." The journal entry was dated September 3rd, 1983, 6 weeks before Aldous Mercer died. The registry has made several attempts to determine what Aldous Mercer may have carried. The death record lists cardiac event as cause of death. The attending physician's notes, partially surviving in the county hospital archive, describe a routine case, except for one observation, underlined twice. Deceased. Presented with unusual density in thoracic cavity upon manual examination. Radiology unable to clarify. Family declined autopsy. There was no surviving family. The registry contacted Clayfield Memorial Cemetery and requested permission to examine the grave in Section 4, Row 7. The cemetery director granted permission. The grounds crew excavated on a Thursday morning in late October. Our investigator present. The casket was intact. When opened, it contained the expected remains of an adult male, consistent with the recorded age of Aldous Mercer at time of death. The thoracic cavity showed evidence of surgical intervention, not consistent with the era's standard cardiac procedures. Something had been placed inside the chest cavity between the third and fourth ribs and sutured closed. The object was no longer there. The suture lines were fresh, not 40 years old, not 1 year old. Fresh, as of within the previous 30 days, as if whatever had been inside had been removed recently, carefully, and the body sutured closed again, in the dark, underground, by hands our investigator could not account for. The pickup log shows the last Tuesday of this month is in 19 days. Clayfield Drug and Sundry has the prescription filled and waiting. Dora Nell Vance has requested that the registry station and observer for the pickup window. Case TR-2309 remains open. The registry has no recommendation at this time other than the following. Whatever Aldous Mercer carried, it appears to have remained on schedule. Whatever seized to that schedule has not missed a month in 40 years. We do not know what happens if it misses one. We are not certain we want to find out.